Alright, I'm going to show you today my burley mix. So all this clobber around here, pollard, tuna, bits of corn, cream corn, old scrap bits of bread, got some cat biscuits. This horrible looking thing here is all my old frames of fish, all scrap bits of bait that I always chuck in the chest freezer. Basically we're going to mix it all up with some old ground bait from the match video. I'm going to make a nice burley mix in this thing, which is a burley cage. It looks like a giant feeder or a maggot feeder if you're familiar with one. But it works exactly the same way. It just slowly gets trickling bits of particle and bait coming out and attracting the fish up to the boat, or at least in the area behind the boat. So, what we're going to do, we've got that. It's old ground bait. Now this one was a week old. If you're brave, I just leave it basically in the bucket with some pressure on it, and it'll basically form like a solid lump at the shape of the bucket, and all you do is just cut it into big chunks. And that's basically, it will just hold together a bit longer and last a bit longer in there. So that's the main mix of it. So we're gonna just add to this. So I'm gonna cut up all the bits of fish, got some fresh sardines, all the old bits I'm gonna cut up first. What I'm actually gonna do is use a bread bag and put that in the burley bag, fill that up, and then chuck that in the chest freezer as well. So it's gonna be one solid frozen lump for the start of the day, so it takes a bit longer to until we basically need to fill it back up again. And it leaves the rest of it that we can just hand in, or what I like to do is get a little kid's shovel, a little scoop like it in Jaws, and just scoop it in over the side of the boat, just so you've got lots of big chunks going down as well. So basically, mash it all up and add it into this bucket. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so no need to be too neat with this. The fleshier the better, because you want that to basically break down and get through these little holes. Add that one in, so that's loads of fine little chunks, and that's basically going to mash up into bits. So that in. Try not to lose any if you're doing it in the garden like me, because you will find it later when it starts to smell. So you got Oki arm. The idea with burley is you want all the bits in the burley trail to be smaller than what you're using on your hook bait. And that Oki, I'll do the whole lot, but that's just a little bit, sort of like slices, if you know what I mean. Small as you can get. You won't be able to get as fine as you can with the fish with the Oki because it's so tough. But that's the general consensus with that. And also in here I've got frames. Got a whole mullet frame here. I'll basically cut that into bigger chunks. I'm not expecting that to fit through here, but that will basically give off a horrible stank and attract some fish to the boat. Right, apart from that, tuna. Fresh tuna, I love this stuff. Fresh water or salt, it really works good. Got some secret additives here. They're actually bank angler additives. If you want to go on the bankangler.com website, you'll be able to get these. This is just garlic and aniseed. Pollard, straight up pollard. Just going to mix that in just to get a bit of a structure to it. The only other thing that's a bit weird is the bread. It's old. It would have gone off. You can see how moldy it is. Basically, I'm going to break that into chunks and chuck that in. That soaks up, and it also takes a while for it to break through this, and it stops the other stuff from falling out too quick. But this, Friskies, it was on special. Seafood sensations. It's got ocean whitefish, salmon, tuna, shrimp, crab, and seaweed in it. Loads of oily, fishy stuff. All I'm doing with it, not the whole lot, but a fair bit of it, is I'm getting a brick and just smacking it. Crushing it up into dust and adding that in as well. Now what happens with that is it actually swells up, it soaks up the water and it swells up. And before it sinks, it'll actually float, swell up and then sink. So you're getting all your layers of the water behind your boat covered. The surface, just below the surface, the bottom, everything in between is all covered. That's basically it. I'm not going to bore you by doing the whole lot Jamie Oliver style, but that's the idea. I will cut back to this as I start to fill it just to give you an idea. And I'll show you tomorrow morning when it's all frozen, one solid big block and ready to go when we launch. Stay tuned. Right. So we've done the hard bit. Chopped everything up, mixed it all in. We're now looking like that. Like that. Stinks, I'm not gonna lie, it stinks, but it works. So we've mixed it all up. This is actually a broken broomstick pole, but it comes really in handy, I'm not going to lie, to actually get down the bottom with all the big chunks and structure and that to get through it. That really did help, so that might be a little cheat code for you. But anyway, so that's all mixed up. Now I've started to add some before, like a little bit drier. I'll show you why in a minute. But now we're just going to get a little scoop, does help. and just get it all in there. Make sure you're getting nice chunks, all that stuff. It's got all that flavouring, fish oils, tuna, corn, cream corn, those cat biscuits, actual chunks like that. There's a lovely big chunk of mullet there. All the guts and blood, everything there. Now we're looking. Okay. So that's roughly about level with the top of that burley cage, and I've got the bread bag in there. Obviously, lots of bits and bobs are still in that tub, and there's that fishy, horrible brown looking water. So there's all the bits and bobs floating in there, looking horrible. Now I'm just going to slowly but surely, add it to that mixture, but very slowly. There we go. That's perfect. So it just below the surface, so there's no horrible mishaps. It does help if you have an outside chest freezer like I have. I'll twist that. Just put a little granny knot in there, just to hopefully keep it in there, but I'm gonna double wrap that in a bag and then a bin bag. So that will sit in the chest freezer. That'll get nice and solid. And that'll be the first burley bucket over, and that'll probably last, you know, a good hour or two. All right, here it is. Saw me make this up yesterday. It's my solid block of mushed up burley ready for the first hour. What I'm gonna do is turn it upside down and take the bread bag out. Perfect. There we go. Solid lump of burley with everything all wet in there. Stay tuned to see the results of using it.